أناشدكم باسم الدين واسم العرب واسم الأخوة أنقذونا من هذا الوضع لا إنساني.
These 4 crew members have been abandoned by the owner of the oil tanker they work on, somewhere in the Arabian Sea. It's called abandonment, a little-known problem that is part of the dark side of the global shipping industry. Ships and their crews abandoned by their employers in foreign ports far from home, like the East Express, stranded now for 2 years. Or abandoned at sea, like Captain Binchley and his crew. Both ships were built in the 1980s, 4 decades ago. The captain warns a catastrophe could happen at any time. A catastrophe like the explosion that tore apart the port of Beirut in August 2020, killing 218 people and leaving 300,000 homeless. The root cause of the explosion? A ship that had been abandoned years earlier by its Russian owner. Its cargo of ammonium nitrate was transferred to a warehouse and later exploded. But most often, it's the crew members who are the primary victims of abandonment. 1,267 seafarers were abandoned in 2023, on board 81 different ships. The France 24 Observers team, in partnership with Syrian independent investigators SIRAJ, obtained rare footage from crews who have been abandoned, analyzed documents they provided us with, and used ship tracking data to confirm their ships' movements, to reveal how a network of ship owners use complex offshore schemes to escape legal disputes and evade Western sanctions. The East Express docked in Misrata, Libya on January 18, 2022, with 11 crew members on board, 10 Syrians and 1 Egyptian. We set up a video call with Syrian crew member Ammar Sheikha. He told us how they came to be stranded.
بعد الدخول إلى مصراتة أثناء تفريغ شحنة سكر.
The inspectors said the sugar was spoiled and grounded the ship. The crew was instructed not to disembark.
بدأ التقصير من ناحية التموين، بدأ التقصير من ناحية الأموال، يعني أشبه بالتخلي.
The crew contacted the ITF Seafarers Union, which is supposed to help, but they heard nothing for months. With no electricity, life on board quickly became unbearable.
نقضيها يعني شيء إنه نمضي وقتنا بالنوم أو بالموبايل، هذا هو متنفسنا الوحيد للأسف. نتكلم مع أهالينا مع أصدقائنا حتى نمضي يومنا، ونقضي باقي الوقت بالشكوى وبالحزن الشديد إنه نحن ليش هيك وضعنا.
Abandonment is when a vessel owner literally abandons the claims to a vessel.
Ian Ralby is an expert in maritime law.
So it can mean that the crew is left without anyone who actually has legal responsibility for ensuring that they get the fuel, the food, the water, all the services that they need.
When owners run into legal disputes, it's often easier and cheaper for them to abandon the ship, the cargo, and its crew.
It's sometimes better to abandon an asset than to retain it and have the liability for it. So we are seeing that occurring more and more. And as a result, seafarers are paying the price of this financial mismanagement.
تخلي عندي إنه أنا أطلب طعام، أطلب شراب، أطلب احتياجاتي اليومية وما لاقيها على متن السفينة من قبل المسؤولين عن السفينة اللي هن المشغلين اللي هن الشركة اللي هن أصحاب الباخرة.
The crew have not been paid in 12 months. They believe that staying on board is the only way they'll get their money. At one point, Ammar says the company owed him $17,000 US.
نحن تواصلنا مع الباخرة عبارة عن الشركة، لأن صاحب الباخرة مش معروف، هي عبارة عن شركة وفي عدة أشخاص.
The crew contacted the company listed on their contracts, MENA Shipping Limited. When the East Express was abandoned in 2022, MENA Shipping was listed as the owner, a general cargo ship, 97 meters long, capable of carrying more than 5,000 tons of cargo, fuel, and ballast. It was registered in Togo, West Africa, owned by Mina Shipping, and managed by United Marine Co. SRL, both based in Romania. The ship's captain told us Mina Shipping is owned by a man named Samir Fahel from Tartus, Syria. His Facebook page says he works in freight transport in Constanta, Romania. We called Mina Shipping at its Romanian number.
Mina Shipping is an offshore company. The owner died.
What is his name?
I don't know. I think 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay, who's the registrar?
Posts shared by his family show that Mr. Fahel died in February 2023. Samir Fahel regularly shared photos of ships. One in particular caught our attention. The Nadalina. Here it is after a major refit in Constanta back in 2016, and in Egypt in 2019. It turns out that the Nadalina is the East Express. In fact, the same ship has had 8 different names in its 40-year career. 3 names in the last 4 years alone. It's common practice in the shipping business for ships to change not just their names, but the countries they are registered in and the companies that manage and own them. Ships at sea are required to emit tracking signals for safety purposes. Websites like Marine Traffic use those signals to plot their locations. France 24 used the data, nearly 3,000 daily locations over 8 years, to track the movements of the Nadalina from 2016 to 2023. The ship made regular trips in the Mediterranean to Tunisia, Libya, and the Syrian port of Tartus, and through Turkey to the Black Sea, coming and going from the port of Constanta in Romania, and making dozens of trips to the so-called closed ports of Crimea. Russia had invaded Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula 2 years earlier. Ukraine declared Russia's occupation illegal, and the US and Europe passed sanctions banning international ships from putting in at Crimean ports.
Ми виявили цілу групу суден, які здійснювали незаконні заходження в закриті порти Криму.
Katerina Yuresko is part of a group of online investigators in Ukraine. Katerina and her colleagues obtained photographs showing the Nadalina illegally docked at Crimean ports, taking on loads of scrap metal or grain.
Надаліна відноситься, афільована з румунською групою судновласників сирійського походження. Ця група була найбільші порушники.
But it was hard to prove it. Katerina and her colleagues found similar violations by other ships operated by the same company, BIA Shipping Co.
Також важко знаходити справжніх судновласників, тому що вони оформлюють на так звану паперову компанію.
A shipping registry in 2015 gave BIA Shipping's contact info as addresses at joharshipping.ro for Romania. joharshipping.ro is no longer online. But we recovered archive versions of the site. The Johar shipping site listed 5 of the same ships that were shown as being operated by BIA Shipping in the registry. The site listed a man called Adnan Hassan as managing director, and Johar Hassan in charge of general operations. Adnan Hassan's Facebook page shows him relaxing on board an 18-meter yacht, fishing, and eating dinner with Johar Hassan, his brother. There are also photos showing him with Samir Fahel. We tried to contact the companies and the families of the 3 men. A member of Samir Fahel's family told us they are now managing the East Express after his death. The family promised an interview, but they never got back to us. Adnan Hassan told us the vessel's owner was always Samir Fahel. He said that after Mr. Fahel's death, he agreed to help his children as a family friend.
انه بركي بيساعدوا يطلعوا له الباخره من هنيك، بس شفت عليها ديون اكثر من حقها. قلت له للقائم انا بعطيكم شهرياتي عندي، اذا طلعت الباخره بشهر وبرجعوا بعطيكم انتم بالباقي تاخذوا، يعني مساعده، مجرد مساعده بس.
Adnan Hassan told us he acted as an agent for the ship when it was known as the Nadalina. Romanian authorities investigated the Nadalina's visits to Crimea, but told us there was not enough evidence to prove sanctions violations. They said they warned the ship's economic operators of the risk they could be violating sanctions. Sanctions on Syria, Iran, and Russia in recent years have led to an explosion of so-called dark and grey fleets, older vessels with complex ownership schemes.
And the problem is that the opportunity is there for bottom feeders within the industry to have a shell company that owns just one vessel, and as a result use both national law and a lack of international law to avoid any kind of legal responsibility.
As for the crew, they say they have still not been paid. France 24 contacted the ITF Seafarers Union, and the next day they told Ammar they'd send money for a plane ticket back home. He sent us a message from the airport.
سبحان الله غصة في القلب، يعني بعد عناء سنتين ونصف الواحد يرجع على منزله ولا عند عائلته ولا عند أهله وأولاده من دون أي مرتب.
3 of Ammar's crewmates have also been repatriated, but 7 remain on board.